I need all the wins, yeah. Ain't no L's, I gotta get a no call and quits, yeah. Gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets, yeah. Better move out the way, cause I'm coming with harder hits. My head is as hard as a brick, but I'm harder than all it is. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. My heart on my sleeve, stress, seal my greed. That's how I get it, success ain't no given. Some days I don't eat, I don't sleep. When I'm focused, I'm dangerous, they don't want it when I'm anxious. Ain't no limit till I tank, I'm running on fumes. The opposition don't amaze, the roads racing through the pavement. Get your hands out of my bag, I know that's because I've been in it. I don't need to brag, I guess that's what happens when you taking care of your business. But some family, you do the math, I'm out of my pocket. Houston, we got a problem, I ain't perfect, let them watch me. Elevating, got them nauseous, cause I'm the pilot in the cockpit. Nose diving in the option, woo. Watch how I get ahead, watch how I get ahead, watch how I get ahead, woo.
It's time! Welcome to DFS by the Numbers with your host, Brady.
Better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my final thoughts for UFC London. We have Tom Aspinall going against Curtis Blaydes, and I have a ton of action on this card. I have a bet on 11 out of 14 fights, 22 units on the line, making it my second biggest card in terms of units staked since I've started tracking 3 or so years ago. So lots of action, lots of violence, lots of big bets, a 5-unit bet, a 4-unit bet, and a 3.5-unit bet. So lots going on, lots invested here in a great card overall. I'm looking forward to this card. This is a card that I've had circled for well over a month at this point. And I think it's going to be a very fun night. So can't wait to talk about it with you guys in the chat and just talk about it in general. We have 14 fights to go over. Before we get started, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe here to the channel if you do not already. My betting breakdown video is already out. And then I'm also going to be premiering a best bet, a 15-20 minute video that is going to be around 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you guys look out for that. And then next week for UFC 277, it'll be me and 3 other guests, and we'll be doing a best bet 2 hours prior to the prelims, a pay-per-view special, and then we're going to be doing that pay-per-view special going forward for each and every pay-per-view. So make sure you are subscribed so not miss out on that as well. I say we hit up the chat, and then we'll get started. Again, a ton of bets to talk about. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun time. So, Evan, first one in the chat, is the whole crew going to be here tonight? Talking about best bet. No, it's going to be me once again, but the crew will be back next week for 277. We got Propaholic in the building. What is up? How you doing? Got a good feeling about tomorrow's card, feeling violence throughout. I definitely hope so. If there's violence, it'll be a good night. If there's a lot of decisions, I will not have a good night. What is up, Tony? Loving the violence in this card tomorrow. Yeah, the card's going to be phenomenal, and definitely some violence. We got Karthlos. What is up? All the English to win, potentially. We'll see. We got KO in the chat. What is up, KO? Gus. We got me in the chat saying, give me 5 minutes. What is up, DFS by the Numbers? Got Bill in the chat. Great card inbound. I think a good amount of subs. Yeah, definitely could be. I think I'm picking a couple myself. Rob in the chat. What is up? Zayed in the chat. What is up? Steiny in the chat as well. Absolutely should be a fun card. Buffalo on the beat. We got Tony in the chat. We have Cadpal in the chat. This card will be epic. Absolutely. On paper, this card is top notch. Let's see if it delivers tomorrow. It's Amigo. Thanks for the content, man. You've helped me. My DK lineups improve. Glad to hear that. Always love helping out. We got Dan in the chat saying the Mokaev needed the box of Leavitt. I mean, shame absolutely did. I thought he looked good though. Bro, where's the Patty haircut from your mom? Yeah, I decided not to get the Patty haircut, unfortunately. But maybe in the future, that's something to look at there. Zaya with the dono. Appreciate you, Zaya. The super stick to $5 there. Appreciate you for the dono. Appreciate you hanging out, especially. Does mean a lot. Big Brady going in deep. Yeah, it's going to be a deep card for sure. Jason in the chat as well. See what else we got in here. We got Gus with the dono. $2.99 super sticker. Appreciate you, Gus, for hanging out. Appreciate the dono as well. Does go a long, long way. See if I missed anything. Samuel, what is up? Brady, let's make some money. That is always the goal. We got Raul saying, got Craig Oezdemir fight doesn't go. Parlayed with Diakiese. And then parlayed with Herbert Nelson fight doesn't go. And then also Jones well. So a 4-legger there, I think that does hit. What is up, Hagbard? Appreciate you stopping by. MMA fan saying, what's good, Brady? I'm going to hit a fat parlay this weekend. UFC London, too easy to bet on. I hope you're right. I hope you're right. And we got Yo Mama, what is up? Let's go. Gus was looking thick. Violence everywhere. We want violence. Indeed, the crowd will instill violence or they will provide it. Absolutely. And I think we're about ready to go. I disappointed Brady's wife didn't take to his haircut with a salad bowl. I mean, maybe in the future, but I don't know. Decided not to. And what is up, Sean? How you doing? All right, guys. So we have a lot to talk about. 14 fights to break down. 11 fights I have a bet on. So I say we get started and get right into it, and then we'll talk through it with you guys in the chat. So yeah, Nicholas Dalby going against Claudio Silva to kick off the card. And like I said, I have a bet on pretty much every fight on the card, but this is a fight that I do not have a bet on. Looks like Nicholas Dalby minus 245, Claudio Silva plus 210. Looks like the money line's been coming in a little bit. Taking a look at it now, and we see that, yeah, Claudio Silva plus 170, and then Dalby minus 200 on BetOnline Sportsbook. And I mean, it could keep coming down. I'm not going to be tempted in Nicholas Dalby here, although I do think he wins. Claudio Silva, 39 years old, almost 40 at this point. And I was really high on Silva for a point in time. He came in like 2 fights ago, goes down a 14-fight win streak, and all of a sudden he's down back-to-back losses here, and he's not getting any younger. His cardio is not getting any better. He didn't look amazing at the weigh-ins. I think it's pretty much Claudio Silva, round 1 submission or bust. I don't think he has great cardio. I think he's going to slow down as the fight goes on, and his striking's not great. He does wing big shots for what it's worth, but he's going to try to get this down to the mat early and often. Could he submit Nicholas Dalby? Potentially. I think that's his path. But if this fight does get out of that first round, he's pretty much screwed. So, yeah, I'm not betting this fight. If I was to bet this fight, I was kind of thinking about the over 2.5, but I do think it'll get sweaty early on with Silva with that potential sub in the first round. And then I think it'll get sweaty kind of late if Claudio Silva does slow down. But I think this fight does go over. Just curious, looking to see what Silva round 1 submission is, and it is sitting at plus 1,100. I would need a little bit more than that. I think it's kind of a shot in the dark there. So, yeah, I'm not going with the 39-year-old, about to be 40, and Claudio Silva. I think Nicholas Dalby does get it done, but not a ton of confidence in Nicholas Dalby. I've never really been too high on the guy. So, passing on the first fight of the night. From a DraftKings perspective, not really touching Dalby, 8,800. If anything, it's Silva, just in case he does get that early sub or is able to work at some takedowns. But, yeah, Silva, if anything, from a DraftKings perspective. Rob saying, let's make some money. I agree. We got JP30 with the dono. Appreciate you, JP, saying, big fan, Brady. I love these early cards. Let's cash. Yeah, for me personally, I'm not a big fan of the early cards. I kind of like the later start there. I'm able to go and, get everything done before the card starts. But I know a lot of people do enjoy those early cards there. Claudio Silva looks 75 on the skills. Yeah, he did. He absolutely did. Watch the Volcon will get impatient and end up in that triangle. Yeah, that definitely could happen. Definitely could happen. Do you think Mokaev's stamina can hold up if Johnson can push the pace? I do. And we'll talk about that fight soon as well. Let's go over 2.5. Yeah, over 2.5 is kind of where I look, but just not touching it. I'm getting hammered at 8 o'clock a.m. Again, why not? Does not sound like the best idea, but have fun. Have fun. Not something I'll be doing. I like the over, but I'm not taking it. That's kind of where I'm at as well. What's going on, Sean? How you doing? I got Dalby in the parlay. I think your parlay does hit that leg there. Brady forgot what it was like to cry in the bathroom mirror and throw things at the TV, so he bet women's MMA, and I did. And that's a great transition into the next fight. We have Mandy Bohm going against Victoria Leonardo. And yeah, I did retire, Dan, from betting on these fights. And it's been a great couple months, not betting on fights like these, right? Like I've probably saved a couple of years off my life at this point, and I've saved a couple TVs. I've saved some phones, not getting smashed, just not betting on fights like these, because that's what will end up happening if you do bet on fights like Mandy Bohm going against Victoria Leonardo. But I spent my last Saturday watching tape on Mandy Bohm, and I was just extremely unimpressed, to say the least. I'm not sure what she's good at outside of being long and rangy. I think Victoria Leonardo should be the favorite here. Leonardo has been extremely unimpressive thus far in the UFC, 0-2, but look at who she's fighting. Manon Fiorot, Melissa Gatto. I think both Fiorot and Gata would finish Bohm in the first 30 seconds of the fight. It's like, and then outside of the UFC, losses to Miranda Maverick, Aaron Blanchfield. So she's fought the much better competition. And not only that, I feel like she has a path to victory here with the grappling. I feel like she's going to be the physically stronger fighter. I've seen Bohm get taken down fairly easily. I've seen her be content to kind of work off her back. Leonardo, solid wrestling, very physically strong, good grappling. I feel like Leonardo can get takedowns here and win minutes on top. So, yes, unfortunately, I bet Leonardo. I got her at plus 125, so I got a good line. Now minus 110. I'll be honest, I would not even think about touching it at minus 110. Plus 100, you can kind of talk me into it. I think the line should be flipped here. I think Leonardo should be the slight favorite. Unless Mandy Baum comes in and looks a lot better than she did against Lipsy. I mean, she can't really look any worse. That was the worst performance I've ever seen in my life. But she's 32 years old. It's not like she's like 25, 26. How much improvement is she going to make over the course of the last year or so? So took the shot on Leonardo. Do I feel great about it? No, absolutely not. But plus 125, I just thought that was so off that I had to come out of retirement and lay a half a unit on it. I'm prepared to be upset, but how upset can you be getting plus 125, right? So give me Leonardo to win. Not a ton of confidence. How can you be confident in it? But I was confident the line was off, and the line seems to be trending in favor of Leonardo, which I do agree with. It should be a pick 'em at the very worst, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens. I've been burnt more times than not on fights like these, so we'll see what happens there. From a DraftKings perspective, not going to touch much Bohm 8,400. If anything, it's going to be some Leonardo 7,800. I like the grappling upside from Leonardo, takedowns, and maybe a finish as well if she can get on top. But give me a Leonardo, half a unit, plus 125. Let us see what happens. Terrifying. Where's the crew been at lately? Yeah, we're going to be going live next week for 277. So 2 hours before the prelims there. I need a best bet, plays well. I'm going to be premiering my best bet live stream at 9:30. So be sure to tune into that. Leonardo by half a shelf in the second round. There you go. Brady came out of for retirement for this one, like Khabib against Olives. Yeah, basically. When low-level MMA comes, I use it as a ship rate. Yeah, rightfully so. I get it. Brady been through a few TV. Absolutely. My phone's been in a couple rivers, a couple TVs busted, couple bad nights for sure. What would your odds be on Leonardo to win? I'd say like minus 130, minus 120, around there. I don't think she'd be like a huge favorite, but she shouldn't have been plus 125. Brady presents you your 1-800 Gambler Fight of the Week. This is actually not my 1-800 Gambler Fight of the Week. My 1-800 Gambler Fight of the Week is on the main card, and I actually have a bet on that as well. So I don't know what's going on this week, but we'll see what happens. Brady's is minus 2,000 to go Wreck-It Ralph on his TV if Bum puts on a grappling clinic against Leonardo. Absolutely. Lewis talking mad crap about you betting on this fight. You know, Weezy, let's make them wrong, even though I love you, Lou. Yeah, and right, he has the right to, man. He has the right to talk some smack for me betting on this fight. I agree. All right. Absolutely orange time. When Brady bets women's MMA, he removes the mirrors from his house. That is absolutely true. All right, let's move on to an actual fight, guys. We have Jai Herbert going against Kyle Nelson. Jai Herbert minus 275 and Kyle Nelson is plus 235. And I do have a really big bet here. I have 4 units on the fight, doesn't go to decision, minus 260. I kind of jumped the gun early. I didn't think I'd get a better price than minus 260. FanDuel did open up. The fight doesn't go at minus 240. And then I think it's currently minus 250 there. So not a ton of line movement on that one, which is kind of interesting considering both these guys, I believe, have 8 combined UFC fights, and all 8 of them have finished inside the distance. They have a combined 8 losses, and 7 of 8 of them have finished inside the distance. And Kyle Nelson, he's going to come in here. He's going to try to take off Jai Herbert's head, and I think that is absolutely on the table. Jai Herbert offensively is extremely impressive. I like what I see from him offensively. It's just defensively, he lacks a ton. He's extremely hittable. His chin is horrible. I mean, you could talk about him getting knocked out by Topuria and stuff like that, but getting knocked out by Reese McKee is just something that's inexcusable. Been knocked out 3 times. Kyle Nelson hits like a truck. I think Kyle Nelson is very live to knock out Jai Herbert in the first round. If this fight gets out of the first round, I heavily do favor Jai Herbert. Kyle Nelson's cardio is atrocious. And Jai Herbert, like I said, offensively, he brings it. He's long, he's rangy, hits hard as well. And Kyle Nelson can be knocked out himself. Kyle Nelson is hittable himself. Both these guys have power. Both these guys are hittable. Both these guys are chinny. I love the fight doesn't go to decision here. So I laid 4 units on it, minus 260. I like violence. I would not ever think about laying minus 275 on Jai Herbert against anybody because of his defensive flaws and his chin. And but I will pick him to win. I'll pick him to win by knockout here. But Kyle Nelson will definitely have his opportunities. I think Kyle Nelson by first round knockout could be something to look at. It opened up like plus 1,400, something like that. It's now plus 1,100. I think that's how he wins. But yeah, give me violence here. On DraftKings, I do like both sides here, but mostly on that Herbert side. I think Herbert knocks him out and honestly could be in the first round as well. But you got to sprinkle some Kyle Nelson just in case he does go out there and finish the very chinny, very hittable Jai Herbert. So love this fight. It's my second favorite fight on the entire prelims. And I think it's going to be a very exciting fight for as long as it lasts. But yeah, 4 units, fight doesn't go. Minus 260, my second biggest bet of the night. You think Leonardo can get the finish? I think potentially. But I don't really want to mess around with the props on that fight. Herbert smokes Nelson. I think so as well. 2 chinny finishers loving the violence. Yeah, I'd be pretty shocked if this did go to decision. Hey, Brady, early prediction on Dern versus Yan Jinan in September. I don't know. There's just some fighters where you just can't pick their fights right. And Dern's one of those fighters. Is it a 3-round fight or a 5-round fight? I think I don't know. I think I might actually lean Dern. Dern has been improving a ton with her striking and her wrestling. So I think I'd lean Dern, but I can't get a Dern fight right. This fight doesn't go to decision parlay with the main event, minus 104. I think that's a solid parlay there. Potential ass shaving by Jai. Yeah, there's a bunch of potential ones, and this is definitely one of them. Nelson is just awful. Yeah, I think especially outside of the first round, but he'll have his opportunities. But it's hard to count on a guy like Nelson for sure. The Black Country Banger. Yeah, what a great nickname. I cap his fight name into his fights like I cap Mr. Finland's Tapology pick into his accounts. Absolutely does count. So he has a garbage chin, and Nelson's only win condition would be KO. And we go in with Jai. Yeah, I'm picking Jai. Because he has more paths to win. Like, this fight reaches that second round, I think Nelson's going to be done. Just joined your website. Look forward to winning some money. Appreciate that. MMA's biggest fan. Does mean a ton there. Yeah, tons of content out on the website, and I've been getting ahead as well. I think I'm halfway done with UFC 277, which this card feels like a pay-per-view. Next week's card kind of does. I don't know. Going into it, I thought that I would not be excited at all about 277, but after digging into some of the fights, there are some good fights. Derek Lewis fights, Brandon Moreno, Kaikar France, Amanda Nunez, Pena. I'm actually weirdly really looking forward to that main event for 277 next week. So I think 277 is going to be a good card. Do I want to pay $80 for it? I don't know about that, but it's going to be a fun card. Ratio that like button maker go home feeling dirty and ashamed. Unbelievable, Dan. But yeah, I do agree. Smash that like button. Nelson, first round KO plus 1,400. Yeah, I think that's how he wins. All right. Let's see here. All right, let's move on, guys. We have Muhammad Mokaev going against Charles Johnson. This seems to be weirdly the people's main event on Twitter. A lot of people are on Mokaev at minus 500, and then a lot of people are on Charles Johnson here at plus 375. And me personally, I do think Mokaev wins, but also I don't want to lay anywhere near minus 500 here. I do think it will definitely play out closer than the line does indicate, and I do have a bet on this fight, and that bet is going to be that fight goes to decision. I got it on FanDuel Sportsbook, half a unit, plus 150. It is now plus 132. The reason being is this line's the fight doesn't go, it was kind of wide to me. I mean, minus 170 it was at. This is a 125-pound fight. neither guy's been finished. Mokaev, obviously undefeated, never been finished. Charles Johnson, never been finished as well. And Charles Johnson's fought some good dudes, including a very dangerous Brandon Royval. Charles Johnson's chin held up, and it has held up. Charles Johnson's submission defense held up nicely as well. So, yes, Mokaev went in there and finished Durden in less than a minute, but you take a look at Mokaev, his amateur career, the guy has like 15 decisions. So he has a lot of decision wins. He's a good finisher, but I don't know if he just runs through Charles Johnson here like the line does indicate. So I get people taking the shot on Johnson. I'm not going to do it myself. What I am going to do is take a half unit shot on that fight goes to decision at plus 150 there. From a DraftKings perspective, I don't mind Mokaev. Like at 9,500, it's definitely a steep price tag, but if he does win, you got to expect a lot of takedowns. Charles Johnson's takedown defense isn't great, but his get-up game really is good. So I could see Mokaev just landing a ton of takedowns here. And if you want to take a shot on Johnson, I know a lot of people are going to 6,700. If he does win, I'm kind of expecting maybe a decision. Maybe he's able to stuff the takedowns, keep it on the feet, and outpoint Mokaev for 3 rounds. But I'm more so on the Mokaev side myself on the DraftKings standpoint. So the bet is fight goes to decision plus 150. And then I also do like me some Mokaev on DraftKings because if he does win, his win condition is a ton of takedowns there. Mokaev coming in way too cocky. Johnson could be a great dog play. Yeah, he could be. And yeah, he's very cocky there. But I mean, rightfully so. I mean, the guy's like, what, 22, 23-0 in amateur, 6-7-0 and as a pro. He has a right to be a little bit cocky, but yeah, he shouldn't be overlooking Charles Johnson here. Mokaev by decision, that's kind of how I'm seeing it as well. Over 2.5, plus 110, not parlayed. But you have also the Mokaev KO decision minus 115. I think those are both solid spots. Mokaev decision, Blaydes KO, and Oezdemir money line, quarter unit on it. Decent parlay there. Johnson round 3 KO plus 4,000. There you go. And yeah, I'm actually going to give out a plus 4,000 prop as well later in the show. Fight goes the distance is plus money in a division where oftentimes they can't finish a sandwich. Yep. I agree. I think the violence is getting a little bit overpriced here, so took a shot on that fight goes. Mokaev and Johnson are very familiar with each other, yes, because they have had several training sessions. Johnson will be ready. Absolutely, he'll be ready. So yeah, I don't agree with the price tag, but as far as a straight pick, if we're giving picks here, the pick's Mokaev, but I'm not laying minus 500. All right, guys, we'll keep moving on. We have my favorite fight on the prelims. We have Jonathan Pierce going against McCann and Marikani. And I actually have three bets on this fight. I think there's so many different ways to play this fight. My biggest bet is going to be the under 2.5 rounds. I got it at minus 105, which was nuts. And DraftKings had it out at minus 110. And then currently Caesars has it out at minus 120, which I just think is kind of crazy. I see this fight playing out one of two ways. The first way is going to be a McCann and Marikani early submission. Jonathan Pierce puts himself into a ton of bad spots. And it's not just the Christian Rodriguez fight. I see people bringing up that fight, and rightfully so. Rodriguez had him in a bunch of deep submission attempts, but pretty much every fight I watch, I mean, Jonathan Pierce is putting himself into a submission attempt at some point in the fight. It's not a great look in general, but it's definitely not a great look against McCann and Marikani. But of course, if this fight gets out of the first round, it's going to be Jonathan Pierce all day. Jonathan Pierce is somebody that can really push a pace. And he's going against somebody with 5 minutes of cardio, McCann. So the way I played this was I have 1.75 units on the under 2.5, the minus 105. I have a quarter unit on Jonathan Pierce round 3 at plus 900 to cover that last 2.5 minutes. And then I also have a quarter unit on McCann and Marikani to win by first round submission at plus 800. I think that's his win condition. I think it's going to be super live. I think he's going to get a bunch of opportunities. Whether he gets it or not, we'll see. But whether it's Jonathan Pierce going for takedowns, whether it's McCann going for takedowns, I think McCann is super live to submit Jonathan Pierce in the very first round. So plus 800, I took a quarter unit shot on that. But if this fight does reach the second round, I think McCann is in serious trouble and Jonathan Pierce takes over and finishes him. So this is a fight you are going to want on DraftKings. You know, same thing. McCann, early submission upside. Jonathan Pierce, a ton of volume, a ton of takedowns, and probably a late finish. So both sides for me on DraftKings. But yeah, 3 bets. McCann round 1 sub, Jonathan Pierce round 3, and then most importantly, the under 2.5 rounds as well. Really love this fight. It's gonna be awesome. Exactly. Pierce has almost been submitted 23 times, and it probably is around 23, honestly. I saw like a ton just in like his UFC run. McCann is spending too much time training with his Tapology pick girls at JPS by Death Gas, and yeah, that's definitely on the table. It's definitely on the table. Usually you have a few bets, you have tons on this card. I'm very intrigued. I'm probably going to follow every bet you make. Well, hopefully it's a good night. But yeah, especially the last 3 weeks have been taking it light. And like I said earlier, this is a London card where I've had circled for months. As soon as it's been announced, I've had it circled. I've had a bet on this card since June 5th was my first bet on this card. So yeah, very heavily invested into this London card. Makwan round 2 sub was 19-1 on Bet Online today. Definitely worth a sprinkle. Yeah, I mean, I'm more of a round 1 kind of guy myself in this spot, but maybe he'll have opportunities in round 2. I just don't know if he'll be fresh enough, especially with Jonathan Pierce's pace to finish it, but we'll see. All right, we'll keep moving on. And man, I'm breaking a lot of rules, guys. The first rule I broke is betting on Mandy Bohm, Victoria Leonardo. The second rule is the parlays, and I've actually had success with parlays this year. I think I'm like 3-1-1. But that's because I'm really taking it easy with the parlays. I'm really like trying to scope out, the spots that I want to get into. And yeah, 3-1-1, I believe. So hopefully go to 3-4-1, 3-4-1 after this. But this is going to be the first leg to my parlay. It's Nathaniel Wood here. And yeah, minus 600 now. I did get him earlier in the week on Sunday. I put this parlay in at minus 450, which you could argue is, still pretty wide, but it's just hard seeing a path to victory for Charles Rosa in this spot. I think Nathaniel Wood's going to be the much better striker. It's not even close. Nathaniel Wood, sometimes you got to worry about his chin. He's been knocked down. He's been knocked out a couple times, and Charles Rosa 0 knockdowns in the UFC. I'm not overly concerned there. Nathaniel Wood has been subbed twice outside the UFC a while ago. Maybe Charles Rosa can get a submission off his back, but I think that's kind of his win condition there, is like a submission off his back. I think Wood's going to be the better striker. I think Wood can get takedowns. Charles Rosa, we've seen it time and time again. He's content to just lay on his back for 15 minutes and lose the fight. So although, yes, it's a wide line, he's the biggest favorite on the card, it's just really hard to make a case for Charles Rosa. So he is the first leg to my parlay. Got him minus 450. Obviously, a ton of money's come in on him, and he's like minus 650 now. Which it's definitely wide, but I do think he wins this fight more often than not. He is coming up a weight class. I was kind of expecting Rosa to be a little bit bigger than Nathaniel Wood, but they kind of sized up decently. So, yeah, I like Wood here. As far as Wood on Draftkings, I think he's safe. I like other guys around him a little bit more, but I think he should win the fight. I think takedowns are on the table, and I think a ton of volumes on the table. The dude lands like 6 significant strikes per minute. So give me Wood. He's the first leg to my parlay there. I think he gets it done here. I'm leaning decision. Charles Rosa, extremely tough to finish. 7 losses, 6 come by decision. And Nathaniel Wood, he's not going to submit Rosa. Rosa's impossible to submit. That's off the table. It's going to have to be by knockout. And Nathaniel Wood, I believe, 0 knockouts in the UFC. So give me Wood. Wood probably by decision. But I do like him as a parlay piece. I can see Wood in the optimal lineup. How about you? Yeah, I could see it. I just like other guys a little bit more in that range. We'll talk about Diakiese, Jones, guys like that. But yeah, I think he's fine. Scouser showing up tomorrow. Yeah, I think so. Rosa got no get-up game? Absolutely not. Yeah, we've seen it just time and time again. So many in his last couple fights, like Bryce Mitchell, even TJ Brown was taking him down. Not a good look. Derek Minner, even Justin James got him down. Just, yeah, not a good look. All right, guys, I'm going to take a quick water break, and I'll be right back. And we're back. Got to stay hydrated. All right. Next, we're going to complete my parlay. So it's back to back. So I'll know real soon whether I hit it or not. Mark Diakiese is going to be the other parlay piece. I did parlay him at minus 305, and yeah, money's been coming in on him as well. Mark Diakiese currently sits at minus 380 there. And kind of like the last fight, it's just really hard to see a path to victory for Hadzovic. If Mark Diakiese comes out here with a great game plan. And a great game plan for me in this fight would be just taking the Silva game plan, copying and pasting it into this game plan here. Just take down Hadzovic, rinse and repeat, 3 rounds. Hadzovic, some of the worst takedown defense you'll ever see, 34%. Diakiese showed that he could go out there and implement that type of game plan. And even prior to the Silva fight, he does go for takedowns. So I see no reason why he would not go for takedowns in this fight. So that's on the table. If he does that, he's going to look probably better than minus 400, minus 1,000 even. If he goes out here and implements that game plan. Hadzovic is so easy to take down, it's not even funny. If he decides to go out there and say, I'm going to test my striking for 3 rounds against Hadzovic, will he look minus 400? No. Will he win the fight? Yeah, I think so. I think he's the better striker. I think he has the better cardio. Hadzovic slows down as the fight goes on. So although I would really want Diakiese to wrestle, and I think he does. If he doesn't, I still think he wins the fight. So I like Diakiese here. I like him as a parlay piece. I don't typically do parlays. I've done like 5 all year. But this is the parlay I do have. I have 2 units on Nathaniel Wood, minus 450. Diakiese, minus 305. Came out to minus 161. I think they both win. 2 of my more confident picks on the card put together. They're back-to-back. Let's see what happens. I do like that parlay a decent amount. As far as DraftKings goes, Diakiese, 9,100. If he does implement the Slavic game plan, expect a big score. Hadzovic, horrible takedown defense. Diakiese should get a ton of takedowns. I like Diakiese on DK for that takedown upside a ton. So yeah, give me a Diakiese here to close out that parlay. Let's see here. We got Wheezy. What is up, Wheezy? I was watching you and Locke. Very fun show there. Nice to see you in here. People saying, what is up to Wheezy? What is up, Stellar? How you doing? Let's see here. Yeah, this is a great card for Benny. I know Wheezy's going pretty heavy on this card as well. I'm going pretty heavy on the card. Hopefully it's a good night. Mark's Wrestling is minus 1,000. His fight IQ is even money at best. Yeah, well, if he has any fight IQ at all, he's going to go for takedowns. But like I said, even if he doesn't, I still think he wins. Your favorite dog out of the following: Johnson, Amarikani, and Kyle Nelson. I think Amarikani and Kyle Nelson, if they both were to win, they both win in the first round. So I'd say lean towards those 2. If Johnson does win, which I think it could be on the table here, I think it is a decision win. So I'd kind of lean more towards that first round upside of Amarikani or Kyle Nelson. Raul saying a big shout out to Brady and my man Uncle Wheezy for always putting it together. Appreciate that, Raul. Does mean a ton. Dope Space Cowboy, what is up, Dope Space? Saying tuning in, driving home from work. I'm so ready for this card. I'm ready as well. I am ready as well. Cannot wait. All right, guys, let's keep moving on here. We have the featured prelim. We have Mason Jones going against Leavitt Klein, and I have 3 bets on this fight as well. For those of you who do not know, Mason Jones is Uncle Wheezy's ass shaving of the week. Shout out to Wheezy. And I think Mason Jones does indeed go out here and shave Leavitt Klein's ass. Yeah, minus 405. It's definitely wide, but you got to think of it this way. Like Leavitt Klein, if he wins this fight, it is a head kick. It is a first-round head kick, and he's the first one to knock out Mason Jones. I do have some concerns with Mason Jones and his striking defense. It is non-existent. But I like this fight for him. I think he's going to really pressure Leavitt Klein like Nate Landwehr did. You know, when Landwehr did pressure Leavitt Klein, Klein had nothing. He broke. Klein wants to be at space. He wants to take his time. He wants to be very low volume in that type of fight. Mason Jones is going to bring a war, and I don't think a war favors Leavitt Klein whatsoever. I think Jones comes in here, puts on a pace, pressure, and eventually does break Leavitt Klein and get him out of there. So I have 3 bets on this fight. The first bet is going to be a half unit on Mason Jones to win inside the distance at plus 110. The second bet, so I was putting together my little table I do here with all the odds. I was going through, plugging everything in, and I see a plus 600 submission problem. Like, what? Plus 600 by sub? Are you kidding me? Mason Jones is a black belt in BJJ, black belt in judo. Klein has been submitted twice. Klein got submitted by Nate Landwehr. Why is Jones plus 600 by sub? And then I go and look. I'm curious. I'm like, okay, I think I'm actually picking Jones to win by sub. I picked him to win by 3rd round sub. What are the round props looking like? What is round 2 sub looking like? What is round 3 sub looking like? And I'll tell you what they're looking like. My goodness. Mason Jones, round 2 sub on DraftKings Sportsbook, plus 2,500. Mason Jones, round 3 sub on DraftKings Sportsbook, plus 4,000. I mean, I think it's worth a shot. Could he knock him out? Sure. But, if Jones gets this fight down to the mat and it's late and, Klein's tired, again, Jones is a black belt in BJJ. So, plus 4,000 round 3, plus 2,500 round 2. I put a quarter unit on each of those. I think it could be live. I really do. But most importantly, I like Jones inside the distance. I like him to break Klein here and finish the fight. So half a unit, Klein inside the distance, plus 110. And then a quarter unit sprinkle on those Jones 2 and 3 sub. I think they're both very, very live if he does choose to go the grappling route. And I think he will. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But on DraftKings, I do like me some Jones 9,200. I think he's going to put up a big pace here, big score, late finish. And then Klein, if Klein does win, it's probably a first-round head kick knockout. So I guess I don't mind like a little sprinkle of Klein, but I do think Jones does break Klein and get him out of there eventually. So, yep, give me Jones to get it done, and hopefully Jones by third-round submission. It'd be nice. See what we got in the chat here. Absolutely, gold caps. Absolutely is. And Dan said it here. Sub props, late rounds, Mason Jones. It's a license to print money. Yeah, they're insane. They're insane. Uncle Weezy's looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. Bookies think Mason Jones is he's well rounded. I mean, he could do it all. He's a black belt in judo, black belt in BJJ. He has phenomenal striking. He can do it all. And yeah, Jones is a big favorite, but there's a big favorite on every single fight on this card, pretty much. Mason Jones is going to sleep this guy. Klein has no cardio at all. Second or third round sub, I think so too. I'll be screaming for the sub there. Could he knock him out? Yeah, he can. He definitely can. But when you get odds like that, might as well take a shot on the sub. Who scores more DK points, Diakiese or Jones? That's a tough one because I think Jones is more likely to finish, but I think Diakiese is more likely to go out there and literally get 10 takedowns if he wants to. If he wants to go out there and get 10 takedowns, he absolutely will. So I'll lean Diakiese, but I think they both score very good. All right, next we have the main card here, and I have action on like 3 of these 5 fights. So not a lot of my actions on the prelims, but I do my biggest bet of the card on the main card and the biggest bet on the card on this first fight. We have Volkan Oezdemir going against Paul Craig. Oezdemir minus 150. Paul Craig is plus 130. So the first bet I have on this fight is Oezdemir. I got him minus 145, 1.5 units. I actually bet this last week thinking the line would kind of skyrocket the other direction. I was wrong, and typically I can kind of read this. I didn't expect a ton of people to be on Paul Craig here, to be honest, but Paul Craig, definitely a fan favorite. Paul Craig has been cashing nonstop, so I see why people are taking a look at him here, but this is a horrible, terrible matchup here for Paul Craig. With that said, he's definitely live to win, but I think his path to victory is getting knocked out 3 or 4 times, catching a Hail Mary submission off his back, or B, Volkan making a drastic mistake and going down to the mat. And the reason I like Oezdemir here is, unlike Krylov, who has some grappling, unlike Jamal Hill, who prior to the fight said he wants to test his grappling against Paul Craig, unlike you can name a whole list, like Kennedy Nzechukwu in the 3rd round, he was content to be in Paul Craig's guard. Other guys like Ankalaev was content to be in Paul Craig's guard. Like, Oezdemir has no reason to be in Paul Craig's guard at all. I mean, is Oezdemir going to say, hey, I'm going to go test my grappling against Paul Craig, I want to prove a point? No, it's just not something he does. That's not his game. That's never been part of his game and never will be. So clear as day, I think it's Oezdemir, and I think Oezdemir should be a huge favorite here. The reason he's not is, a lot of people are on Paul Craig, and Paul Craig is live no matter what against anybody. Paul Craig is live against guys like Ankalaev, guys like Jamal Hill, guys like Jiri, guys like Teixeira. He'll be live against all those guys because that's what he does. I mean, this guy is losing up until he finds that Hail Mary submission, and he just keeps doing it and doing it and doing it. I also think people are very low on Oezdemir. We haven't seen Oezdemir in a long time. His last 2 losses come to Jiri and come to Ankalaev. I think people are really down on him. That's why we're getting a line like this. I mean, Paul Craig was a pick'em against Vince Moreira, right? Like Paul Craig has been an underdog in I think all but 2 or 3 of his UFC fights, and for a reason. He's not a minute winner. There's a minute winner, and then there's an opposite of a minute winner, and Paul Craig is the opposite of a minute winner. He does not win minutes. So I think Oezdemir has a great chance to win this fight unless he makes a drastic mistake. And that very well could happen. I mean, it happens in all of Paul Craig's wins for the most part. So I like Oezdemir 1.5 units minus 145. But the big bet is on that fight doesn't go to decision. I have 5 units on the fight doesn't go, minus 260. And Paul Craig, the definition of a kill or be killed fighter, a 100% finish rate in his wins, a 100% finish rate in his losses. All the numbers checked out to me. You know, these guys have been finished a ton. Volkan has been finished in 4 of his 6 losses, 2 by sub. I think that's important. And just stylistically, how this fight matches up. You have a striker in Oezdemir who's going to walk forward with power and try to take off Craig's head. And then you have Paul Craig who's going to get a submission if this fight does hit the mat. So most importantly, the fight doesn't go to decision. 5 units, minus 260. I think we do see some violence here. From a DraftKings perspective, this is a fight that I'm nearly 100% exposed to. I see it playing out one of 2 ways. Volkan Oezdemir knockout, Paul Craig sub, simple as that. I think the winner does find its way in the optimal lineup at these price tags. So 1.5 units Oezdemir, minus 145. 5 units on the fight doesn't go to decision, minus 260. If Paul Craig goes out here and wins his first decision, I am the one getting my ass shaved on Saturday. So hopefully this fight does end inside the distance. So let's see. I know. There we go. Boo. This guy sucks. Paul Craig's. I get it, guys. I get it. Paul Craig's my favorite. He's like my favorite fighter. Like Paul Craig is one of my, if not my favorite fighter on the entire UFC roster. I am with you guys, but let's be realistic. Let's be realistic here. This is a horrible matchup. With that said, he could absolutely win. Absolutely win. I was surprised Craig took it. I'm not surprised. Did you see what Hill did in that fight? Paul Craig pulls guard. Hill falls him down. Hill's able to stand up. Hill goes back in and gets submitted. So I am not surprised. But I will be surprised if Volkan does that. I think Volk is just too one-dimensional, but yeah, he's got hands. Yeah, I mean, Paul Craig's the definition of one-dimensional for sure. Fight doesn't go to decision. If Paul faceplant loses with KO. Yeah, fight doesn't go to decision, I think, is the best look. Let's see here. With all the expensive options on DraftKings, do you think a losing fighter will be in the winning lineup? I don't think so on a 14-fight card. To be kind of surprised. The Craig disrespect, man, subs are solid there. Yeah, absolutely solid. Under 2.5, minus 185. I have 1.85 units on it. I think it's a good line there. I think you probably beat some line movement. Is Oezdemir a better striker than... I mean, it doesn't matter, though. It doesn't matter. Hill grappled with Paul Craig. If Hill would have stood up with Paul Craig, yeah, Hill's going to knock him out. It just didn't happen that way. Hill put himself there. It was a gift. Yeah, exactly. And didn't he get KO'd? Who? Hill? I think they might have ruled it a KO, but it was a sub. Come on. But yeah, should be a fun fight. My favorite, Paul Craig, Volkan Oezdemir is probably my favorite fight on the entire card. It's pretty close with one we'll talk about soon, but yep, looking for some violence here. All right. I'm not spending too much time on this next fight. Molly McCann, Hannah Goldy. McCann's a big favorite. Not much you can do with that. I don't have a bet on this fight. I wouldn't even think about betting on this fight. I actually thought about potentially a Molly McCann inside the distance bet, maybe being a little bit sneaky there, but they're giving you minus 235. No, I mean, Molly McCann has like a 42% finish rate. I mean, I think decision's probably more likely, but I'm not touching this fight from a money line standpoint, especially from a time prop standpoint. I think decision's most likely, but Molly's going to go out there trying to finish Goldy. She's going to have the crowd behind her. A finish wouldn't shock me, but I'll definitely need more than plus 235 on it. So yeah, pass from a betting perspective and pass from a DraftKings perspective. Pretty short and sweet, simple here. I want nothing to do with this fight. As a fan, I'm going to enjoy this fight a ton. I love watching Molly McCann fight, especially Molly McCann in London. I'm going to enjoy it. But from a betting perspective, from a DraftKings perspective, I just cannot get there. So give me McCann for the win, but I cannot bet this fight or have any on DraftKings as well. The sketchiest fight is probably the Leonardo Bohm fight, or a fight we'll talk about soon. It's the Krylov Gustafsson fight. All right. Add Paul by sub. I think I missed your other part of this mushroom. And has some good hands and head movement. Yeah, she's good. She's definitely good. Is she minus 450 good? Absolutely not. But yeah, I think she wins. Molly Meatball all day. Yeah, I'm not going to make a case for Hannah Goldy. McCann KO, potentially. Cocaine Molly by Violent Slate. I did it. She's using John Jones' Coke plug and is ready for conflict. There you go. I mean, by the way she fights, it kind of looks like it, man. So, yeah, I could see it. I could definitely see it. All right. We'll keep moving on, though. We have probably the people's main event here. We have Patty Pimblett going against Jordan Leavitt. And, yeah, Patty Pimblett, there's a couple lines that really shocked me on this card. The first one, I think Oezdemir should be a much bigger favorite. The second line that shocks me, we'll talk about in the co-main event. I thought that Chris Curtis would be taking a ton of money this week and be a decent-sized favorite. And then this line shocks me as well. And it shocks me in a way you might not think. I expected Patty Pimblett to be a huge favorite here. I thought the parlays would start rolling in. This guy has some hype. And after looking to the matchup, I was nearly tempted to lay the hammer down on one Patty Pimblett. A lot of people are on Jordan Leavitt. A lot of people are trying to fade Patty Pimblett here, and I think they're trying to fade him with the worst possible guy. Patty Pimblett has some flaws in his game, mostly in the striking defense, right? Horrible striking defense, chin up in the air, but he's going against Jordan Leavitt, who doesn't, have great striking. We saw Jordan Leavitt go in there and land like 70 kicks in his last fight, but he's not going to take advantage of the lack of striking defense of Pimblett. Pimblett, black belt in BJJ. Pimblett, more experience, fought the better competition. How does Jordan Leavitt win this fight? I'm just not quite sure. So to see him being only minus 255 is kind of odd to me. But again, a lot of people really want to fade Pimblett. A lot of people seem to hate him for some reason. I like Pimblett. I think he's exciting. I think he's fun. And to be honest, I've never been a big Jordan Leavitt guy. So yeah, I like Pimblett here. I like him quite a bit. And I know the fight goes to decision and the over 2.5 is a very popular play this week. I think Pimblett finishes him. I think it could be early. I think Pimblett can go in there and knock out Jordan Leavitt early on. I think his striking has improved immensely from a couple of years ago to now. He now shows power. He looks physically stronger. And Jordan Leavitt has no striking. And then on top of that, I feel like Patty Pimblett is going to set a pace in this fight that Jordan Leavitt will not be able to keep up with. Jordan Leavitt slows down massively as the fight goes on. And I feel like Pimblett is going to set that pace. I feel like Pimblett's live for an early finish. I feel like he's live for a late finish here. So, yeah, maybe I'm overlooking Jordan Leavitt a little bit here, but I think Patty kind of runs through him here. I think it's a tough matchup for Jordan Leavitt. So I like Pimblett. I like Pimblett inside the distance. Maybe this is a square bet. It could be. But I did bet Pimblett inside the distance, minus 125, 1.25 units. I think he kind of walks through Patty Pimblett. And it looks like I did skip Krylov Gustafsson, maybe for a good reason, but no, we'll talk about that next. I guess I was just so excited to talk about Pimblett Leavitt, but no, I think Pimblett, rightful favorite. I think it could even be wider. Tough matchup for Leavitt. Yeah, give me Patty Pimblett and give me Patty Pimblett all day long. All right, here. Here we go. Yeah, the twerk versus the teabag. Never thought I would see that. Oh my gosh, I can't bring up some of these comments, guys. I bring up some of these comments. Leavitt bet is I did post it on Twitter. Leavitt did put on his bet MMA tips if it's even him. Some are saying it's not. Some are saying it is him. I don't know, but yeah, whoever that is did bet half a unit on the Leavitt first round sub. Line movement kind of funky. There we go. Yeah, I kind of think so as well. Patty KO or points plus 115. Decent. I'm riding with Pimblett also. Super lock. Nothing's a lock, but I really like Patty in this matchup. Oh my goodness, Dan. and Goldstein. Hilarious. Epic twerk incoming. Jordan by KO plus 2,000. Is he gonna KO him with a calf kick? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Pimblett, the next McGregor. It's way too soon. It is way too soon to say something like that. But man, I mean, a lot of people like him. You got Barstool behind him. The guy's a star already, and if he wins this fight, he's going to be boosted up even more. They are exactly about your comments, Dan. I love your comments, but my goodness, I'm not trying to get kicked off of YouTube, man. And Dan is comedy. Patty, a lot of people are talking about Patty potentially missing weight here, and I actually posted a tweet thinking it might be Jordan Leavitt that was going to miss weight. If you guys saw my tweet, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, Patty made weight. It looked good. Patty losing his next fight. Yeah, I mean, it all depends on the matchup. He's gotten 3. I wouldn't say Luigi van der Meer is an easy matchup by any means. That was a tough matchup, and Pimblett passed it. But yeah, Leavitt I think is a kind of an easy matchup, and then obviously Rodrigo Vargas was an even easier matchup. And yeah, last UK card had a lot of fight, doesn't go to decisions. Yeah, if there's a lot of finishes in this card, I'm gonna have a good night. If there's a lot of decisions, I will not have a good night. All right, so we'll touch on the Krylov Gustafsson fight real quick, and this is my 1-800 Gambler fight of the week, and just because there's a lot of red flags and a lot of question marks on the Gustafsson side. Gustafsson had a 2-year layoff. He's coming back. He has not won a fight in 5 years. He's not looked great. I mean, it's simple as this, and it's not really simple at all. I mean, if Gustafsson shows up and we get anywhere near the Gustafsson, when he fought, John Jones the first time, couple that was at that point like 6-7 years ago at this point. If we get that Gustafsson, he runs through Krylov, it's not even close. Like on paper, if we get the best version of Gustafsson, Gus has great takedown defense on paper. He's going to be the better striker on paper. The problem I have is I don't know if we're going to get that same Alexander Gustafsson 2-year layoff. Is he motivated? He hasn't won a fight in 5 years. I can't bet on this fight. I just can't bet on this fight from a money line perspective. From a prop perspective, I can, and I did. I like the fight doesn't go. I like the under 2.5 rounds, and I do have a half a unit bet on the under 2.5 rounds, and I got that at minus 126, and I believe that is still there. The reason being, Krylov, killer be killed fighter. The dude has a ton of fights. Krylov has, what does he have? 36 fights. He's been to decision 3 times. 33 to 36 fights have finished for Krylov. The dude's been submitted 6 times, knocked out once, finished in 7 of 9. Krylov, a 96% finish rate, finishing all but one of his wins. So I like that. And then even Gustafsson, been finishing 5 of 7 losses. The question marks with, does he want to be here? Is he showing up for a paycheck? We don't know. And then on top of that, Gustafsson, a good finisher in his own right at 78%. So yeah, I think I'd lean violence, if anything. Sketchy fight. This is my 1-800 Gambler fight on the card. I know some of you thought it would be the Leonardo fight, but it's actually this one. So I'm not. The pick's Krylov just because I don't have a lot of faith in Gustafsson. If he shows up, he does, and he probably beats Krylov and probably beats him pretty easily, honestly, if we get the best version of Gus. It's just I don't know if I can count on getting the best version of Gus. So picks Krylov, the bet under 2.5, half a unit. I don't want to be overly exposed to this fight at all. Bill Gustafsson sub 2,300. Goodness, really? Wow, what book is that? Round 1, 2, and 3 sub. Yeah, I did see that. Somebody posted that. So on DraftKings Sportsbook, I think, right, Bill? Gus by sub in both round 1, 2, and 3 is plus 5,000. Krylov's been submitted 6 times. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like, Gus does have several subs in the UFC and on his record, so yeah, that's weird. I'm not going to take a shot on it personally, but I don't hate anybody taking a shot on plus 5,000. Yeah, Krylov's been active. I'm scared. I'm scared to read your comments now, Dan. But Gus had his 2015 abs, so I shipped it and I took a poke on sub round 2-3. Krylov isn't good. Doesn't have good takedown defense and 5 minutes of willpower. Gus smashes and chokes him. Yeah, I think it's on the table. I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all, especially those like plus 5,000. Gus looked awful versus Redoom. Yeah, that fight was at heavyweight though, so I don't want to look into that much, but he did look awful. Shout out to Mushroom. Yeah, that could definitely happen. Krylov winning the fight until he loses. It's on FanDuel. FanDuel. Okay, FanDuel. There you go. Yeah, nuts. Yeah, I got a proofread. I got a proofread, Dan, just in case. I love it. Nicholas saying, enjoy this UK card from a betting perspective. Yeah, me as well. Next pay-per-view card is tricky. I'm halfway through the pay-per-view next week, and I don't want to give out too much before stat dickers on Sundays. But yeah, not really anything sticking out for the most part. There's like a couple things though. Krylov definitely showed an awful fight IQ his last fight, but I actually like him a lot of fights and still pretty young, well-rounded fighter. Yeah, I think he's okay. I think he's all right. If you had to lock one player on DraftKings, who would it be? Yeah, definitely not locking anybody on this 14-fight slate because there's just so many great plays. I guess my favorite one is probably, honestly, Paddy Pimblett. But I mean, you want to lock the main event as a whole. You want to lock the Oezdemir fight as a whole, and you want to probably lock the Pierce Americani fight as a whole. I think those three fights score a ton as a whole. Paddy Diakiese Wood, your top three locks. My top three to win, they would be Paddy, Diakiese, and Wood. Yes, as far as winners. Yeah, I agree. I feel like I should be paying like $80 for this tomorrow, but no, it's free. But next week we got to pay $80 for an okay pay-per-view next week. It's okay. All right. All right, we'll move on. We have the co-main event, Chris Curtis going against Jack Hermansson. And like I was saying earlier, I really thought money would be pouring in on Chris Curtis. I see a lot of Chris Curtis love, and he's just been cashing and cashing and cashing. In the UFC thus far, he's looked good, and yeah, he showed great takedown defense in his last fight against Vieira. Not only that, but in his UFC run here, he has showed great takedown defense, stuffing like 24 out of 24 takedowns. And yeah, I mean, he trains with guys like Sean Strickland, I believe Brad Tavares as well, doing some work with those guys, and those guys have elite takedown defense. And Curtis showing that he's up there in elite takedown defense as well. Because my goodness. And of course, there's a big difference. We got to keep in mind there's a big difference between Jack Hermansson and Rodolfo Vieira here, and this is going to be a massive step up in competition for Chris Curtis here, going from guys like Brendan Allen, Rodolfo Vieira, Phil Hawes to a guy that's been in the top 10 for a while now in Jack Hermansson, a guy in Jack Hermansson who's only lost to some of the best guys, Jared Cannonier, Sean Strickland, guys like that, Marvin Vettori. But I'm actually picking Curtis here. I'm picking Curtis to win. I think he will stuff the takedowns. I think on the feet, it'll be more competitive than people think. I actually really think Hermansson's striking is underrated, but I do favor Chris Curtis slightly in that striking, and I think he stuffs the takedowns, keeps them on the feet, and outpoints Jack Hermansson to a decision win. So picking Curtis, am I going to bet it? No, I am not. It's been a pick 'em for like the last 4 or 5 days. I was kind of expecting more money to come in on Curtis, but it's stayed a pick 'em, and it probably does up till fight time, I suppose. Give me Curtis for the win, but yeah, I have a bet on 11 out of 14 fights. This is the last fight where I don't have a bet, and I'm completely content with just passing. Even from like a time props perspective, I lean decision, but could Curtis knock him out? Sure, he could. And if Hermansson gets on top of Curtis, it's going to be trouble. Hermansson, legit ground and pound, a legit submission threat. But I kind of lean towards Chris Curtis stuffing the takedowns, keeping it on the feet, and winning a decision here. But yeah, absolutely no bet on this one. I want nothing to do with it from a betting perspective. From a DraftKings perspective, you can kind of talk me into it, especially on the Hermansson side at 8,000. If he does win, it probably means he is able to get Curtis down to the mat. And like I said, Hermansson's ground and pound is no joke. His submission game is no joke. So I'm not overly invested in this fight from like a betting perspective or DK perspective, but from a fan perspective, we can't deny this fight's going to be phenomenal, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. So the pick's Chris Curtis, but not a ton of confidence in that. Alrighty, let's take a look at some comments here. Can't decide on this fight. Yeah, it's a tough. It's a pick 'em for a reason. I love this fight from a fan perspective. Personally, don't have a side or bet here. Yeah, I'm just staying far away from this one. There we go. I don't think Jack can take Chris down. That's kind of what I'm banking on as well. But would it shock me if he took him down? Absolutely not. A Joker by decision, and then the over 2.5. I don't mind that over 2.5. Is it a small amount on Mason Jones by sub around 2 or 3? It's a quarter unit. So for me, that's $25. And then I have a half a unit on the inside the distance as a whole. Curtis round 3 decision. Hack Hermansson loves getting punched by straight lefts, and Curtis is pretty good. Southpaw. Yeah, I think I do favor Curtis in that striking. Curtis is live to win decision. I agree. What? I'm all over Action Man's money line like Jordan Leavitt is all over Grinder. Not 100% sure what Grinder is, but I think it's a dating app, right, Dan? Tough as nails. Don't see him getting finished by Jack. Should be able to control him. I get it on the Hermansson angle. You just can't keep taking fights on short notice of a weight class, especially against guys in the top 10. Like Jack Hermansson. Like if Chris Curtis wins this fight and takes another short notice fight against somebody else in this top 10, we'll have to see what the matchup is. But it's a tough matchup for Curtis. Yep, Dan got one in on me. There you go, Dan. I like it. Yeah, I saw that video as well. Chris Curtis beating up a random fat guy was talking crap. Yeah, I saw that as well. Very interesting video. All right, main event time. Do want to remind you guys that I will be premiering a best bet 9:30 p.m. Eastern time on this channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, so you don't miss out on that. Just going to be giving my best bet, one bet for each and every fight on the entire card. And then want to remind you guys that next week I will be live with a panel for UFC 277 pay-per-view special 2 hours prior to the prelims. We're going to go the full 2 hours, an hour and a half with the guest, and then 30 minutes with me answering any final questions you guys have and just chatting it up, getting ready for that pay-per-view card. But we have Tom Aspinall, Curtis Blaydes, and this is a fight I want nothing to do with from a money line perspective. It's kind of interesting, though. Like, this is going to be the first time Curtis Blaydes has ever been a dog in the UFC, and you can see why. This guy is a stylistic nightmare matchup for anybody. Curtis Blaydes is a tough matchup here, and there's still question marks about Tom Aspinall. What does his takedown defense look like nowadays? What does his gas tank look like if he gets to the third round? We've never seen it. And Aspinall's the favorite, and even Aspinall was kind of surprised that he was the favorite. He's like, I'm the favorite. I wasn't expecting that. And they kind of talked about why, and he talked about Blaydes having more experience. Blaydes has fought the who's who. He's lost to the who's who. He's only got knocked out by Francis Ngannou and Derek Lewis, the two hardest hitters in the division. So I get why people would be taking the shot here on Blaydes. I don't know though. I'm a big Aspinall believer. I think he's a real deal. I think he does fight for the title in the very near future. And I kind of just have a feeling he goes out here and finishes Blaydes, and he does it early on. If he does not finish Blaydes early on, it's going to get very interesting. It is going to get very, very interesting if this goes over 1.5, if this does get into that third round for the first time for Aspinall. It's going to get very, very interesting, and I would definitely favor Blaydes. I just feel like Aspinall is super dangerous. Black belt and BJJ, tons of power. And we've seen Blaydes just content to strike a lot more recently. He didn't even attempt a takedown against Chris Daukaus. He stood with Rosenstruck quite a bit as well, and he even stood with Derek Lewis for a while as well. He's having success, but I don't know. But I'm not confident in Aspinall, especially as a favorite. I don't want to touch the money line. I wouldn't even think about it. Even as a dog, I probably wouldn't touch this fight for Aspinall. It's a close fight. But what I do like this fight from is a violence perspective, and this was my first bet of the entire card. This is a bet I've had since June 5th. So I've had this riding for a long time. FanDuel Sportsbook put up the props extra early, which was awesome. And they had the fight doesn't go at minus 168 for a good week and a half. It was out there for a while. And I put 3.5 units on that. And looking back at it, I probably should have max bet it. But 3.5 units on it. And obviously, it was still a good line. I mean, it was like minus 180 for like a couple weeks as well. And then just recently this week, everybody's catching on. Violence is the answer in the main event, and it's been smashed. It's been smashed. I think it's like minus 260 now, which even then, I like it. At this point, I would probably take a look at the under 3.5 rounds. Maybe the fight won't start round 4 or something like that. Even the fight won't start round 3s plus 100, which is interesting considering Aspinall's never seen the third round there. But I do have 3.5 units on the fight doesn't go. Obviously love that line, and honestly, that should have been a max bet at that price tag. So, yep, that's my last big bet of the night. I have a 5-unit bet, a 4-unit bet, a 3.5-unit bet, and it's all on violence. So hopefully get some violence. It'll be a great night. If these 3 fights go to decision, I do indeed get my ass shaved, but I think they do finish. We'll answer any final questions you guys have, then I'll pop out of here. Propaholic saying yes, violence. The odds in the main event starting round 3, I think it's like minus 120 for yes, it does. Plus 100 for it doesn't. People are questioning Tom's cardio, but people forget that Blaydes went 5 rounds with Volk. He slowed down badly in round 4 and round 5. I mean, maybe Aspinall has good cardio. We don't know. We don't know. It's a question. It's a legit question. What is it like? We don't know. Whereas we have seen Curtis Blaydes go deep into the fight. And yes, he did slow down in that Volkov fight, but rightfully so, man. He landed like 15 takedowns. Mushroom with the violence ladder downward saying fight doesn't go. Under 4.5, under 3.5, under 2.5, under 1.5. Okay. Yeah, I like it. I like it. And you're probably expecting an Aspinall finish, which I am as well. I think Blaydes takes him down and holds him there. I'm curious about Aspinall's cardio. I'm curious as well. I don't think we'll find out. Aspinall knockout. I'm on the Blaydes side. Don't blame you. There are lots of reasons to like Blaydes. Absolutely. Especially as a dog. Mushroom, I just parlayed violence on this one. In the Bear Jew fight, I got plus 105. There you go. I like it. Brady, do you think Aspinall has the same power as Lewis or Francis? In pure raw power, no. But he does have other things that are better than him. He has volume. He has speed. The guy is fast. And he does have power. Is he as powerful as Lewis or Francis? No, not at all. Those guys are powerful as can be. But I do think Aspinall has much more speed and volume and just a better striker compared to Lewis or Francis. But power, no. I mean, nobody's more powerful than Lewis or Francis. Let's see what we got here. Why do you think Aspinall's the favorite? Hype drives the line. Hype drives the line. Look at the Paul Craig fight, for example. I think Oezdemir should be minus 400. And that's not saying Paul Craig can't win the fight. He can win any fight. He can fight anybody in the world and win a fight. But I think it's a tough matchup for him. A lot of people are on Paul Craig. Hype's driving the line, and Paul Craig's sitting at plus 130. You take a look at Molly McCann. I mean, hype on Molly McCann. She's minus 450. I don't think Molly McCann should be that big of a favorite against anybody. And they're just, hype always drives that line. And there's a lot of hype on Tom Aspinall, and rightfully so. Yeah, Dan, are you on Twitter? Let's see here. Appreciate you, Bill. My boy knows nothing about MMA, saw the face-offs and put 2 units on Craig. Yeah, rightfully so, man. That face-off was awesome. All right. I'm going to quickly go over my bets. Money line, 2 of them. Volk on Oezdemir, 1.5, minus 145. Very unpopular play. I get it. Paul Craig is live against anybody. He's live against Francis Ngannou. That's just what Paul Craig does. Victoria Leonardo, half a unit, plus 125. Only a half unit, but even that feels like too much. But I think the line should be flipped. We'll see what happens. But yeah, some violence. We'll start with my biggest play. My biggest play of the night, Paul Craig, Volkan Oezdemir fight doesn't go to decision. Minus 265 units on it. My second biggest play of the night, Jai Herbert, Kyle Nelson, fight doesn't go to decision. Minus 260 as well. 4 units on it. My third biggest play of the night, Curtis Blaydes, Tom Aspinall, fight doesn't go to decision. 3.5 units, minus 168. So my night comes down to some violence there. My only parlay of the night, Nathaniel Wood, Mark Diakiese, minus 161, 2 units. 1.75 units on Mac 1 Pierce under 2.5 rounds, minus 105. McCann to win by first round submission plus 800 quarter unit. Jonathan Pierce to win in round 3 quarter unit plus 900. What else I got here? Muhammad Mokaev, Charles Johnson fight goes to decision half a unit plus 150. Paddy Pimblett wins inside the distance minus 125, 1.25 units. Mason Jones inside the distance half a unit plus 110. The under 2.5 in the Gustafsson Krylov fight half a unit minus 126, and then a quarter unit sprinkle on Mason Jones round 2 sub plus 500, and then a quarter unit on Jones round 3 sub plus 4,000. Those are my bets. In terms of units staked, it is my second largest card since I've been tracking for 3 or so years. And yeah, hopefully it's a good night. Hopefully it's a violence night. And if there is violence, it'll be a good night. If we get a lot of boring decision, which could you imagine? Could you imagine with this crowd getting a bunch of boring decisions? I just can't. So we'll see what happens. But give me some violence, and I think violence is going to be the answer for this card. Appreciate you, Mushroom. Yeah, absolutely. Connor's a great example. You can only catch Dan on YouTube. You can only catch Dan on YouTube, I suppose. So we're very appreciative of Dan Goldstein. Probably the funniest guy in any comment section I've ever seen. Talk to y'all tomorrow. See you later, Rob. Kyle Nelson KO. Yeah, probably round 1 if it happens. Mushroom liking some violence. I agree. Kyle Nelson looks like Talade, but yeah, he's not even close. Klein for the upset. That's a big dog. Someone will make it out of round 1. I agree with you, Sean. Man, early prediction for Islam Olives. I'll have to look into it. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I see that Islam's a big favorite. I don't know if I agree with that. This is a big step up for Islam. I cannot wait to talk about that fight. I'll have to dig into it, but we'll see. Yeah, best bet coming out soon, guys. Look out for it, and I think we're good. So yeah, leave a like on the way out, subscribe, all the good stuff. We'll talk to you guys very soon. Follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers. Instagram is DFS by the numbers. If you have any questions, hit me up there. And yeah, best of luck, guys. UFC London, let us make some money.